Hello everyone and welcome to my channel called The Moon Storytime. My name is The Moon and today we keep reading this lovely book called Fairy Tales. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, for your likes, comments, donations. All information for donations you can find it down below in comments. And today's story will be called The 13th Child. Here you can see the lovely drawing of our story. When the queen had a baby boy, the king was delighted and gave him a silver spoon on a cord to wear around his neck. The queen too was happy, thinking the next child may be a girl. When the second was a boy, he too was lovely. He too was given a spoon. But the queen did hope her next child would be a girl. Or the next. At last, king and queen were blessed with 12 sons, big boned, bony boys, bold as bears, each wearing his spoon like a battle medal. The king was hugely happy, but the queen's wish had become a desperate longing. One winter's day, when the princes were particularly noisy and rough, playing snowballs, the queen went for peace and quiet to prune her rose garden. A thorn pricked her finger, and blood fell on the snowy ground. If only I had a daughter with skin as white as snow and lips as red as blood, said the queen to herself. A snowball hit her on the back. If I had a daughter like that, those boys could fly away for all I care. It was a terrible thing to say, not meant, hardly meant, but the words hung in the air as a frosty smoke while her blood dripped onto. Ay. Careful with your words, guys. The snow. Soon the queen was expecting another child, the 13th, and the 13th was a daughter. The boy's first cry pierced the air like a thorn, and in the same instant all the windows of the palace blew open. At first, the 12 princes thought they had been smothered by an avalanche of snow. Then each looked down and found himself transformed in place of boots, webbed feet, in place of a face, a beak, in place of arms, a pair of wings, in place of skin, feathers. All 12 had turned into wild ducks. Through the open window of the palace they flew away. A churn in the sky, an arrowhead of migrating ducks. Yeah, I wish came true. They are flying away. The queen finally had her daughter, and the daughter was as lovely as any rose garden, with blood-red lips and snow-white skin. She too was given her silver spoon. Princess Snow Rose was a dear, loving child, and yet never a day passed but she felt some dark and terrible sadness haunting the palace. which no one would talk about. She was lonely too. If only I had brothers and sisters to play with, she began to say one day, and her mother promptly burst into tears. The whole terrible story came out, how her 12 brothers had been turned into wild ducks and had flown away. And all because of me, she whispered, chilling outside and in. I wish that I had never been born. I must go and find them and save them, even if it costs me my life. Nothing the king or queen said could change her mind. She took no purse and she took no courage, but walked through the world till she was rugged. For 3 years she walked. Wow. One woodland morning, a skein of 12 ducks flew up into the sky ahead of her. At just the spot where they had taken off, she found a little cottage, and in the cottage 12 chairs round a table, and on the table 12 silver spoons. I have found them, she thought, dizzy with excitement and hunger. Now all I have to do is wait for them to come home. Porridge was cooking on the stew. She ate a bowlful using her own silver spoon, then lay down on one of the 12 beds and fell asleep. With the rattle of wings, the 12 brothers flew home at nightfall. As the last ray of sunlight left the sky, their feathers dropped down in a snowy mold, and they were themselves again, 12 handsome young men who looked a lot like the king. Sitting down to supper, they picked up their spoons to eat, and there, glittering on the table, lay a 13th spoon. The oldest boy knocked over his chair with a clatter. Up and search, brothers. Who can this spoon belong to but our sister, our curse and our sorrow, the cause of all our misery? They tore open the cupboards, they overturned the table, they slashed at the curtains and ripped the covers from the beds. But as at the 12th bed, brothers and sister came face to face for the first time, and daggers were drawn. The youngest princess raised his voice. Stop! Don't kill her! How can she be to blame for what happened to us? She was not there, seconds old when the enchantment fell on us. Snow Rose stood up on the bed, her face streaming with tears, her shadow dancing in the lamplight. For 3 years I have searching for you. If killing me will free you from the enchantment, please kill me now. Otherwise, tell me how to lift the spell and I will do it. Impossible, said the oldest brother. You couldn't, said another. We shall always be ducks by day and men by night. No remedy. What? Weave shirts from nettles. Weave 12 shirts from nettles and not wheat. Here is the sister doing shirts from nettles, I guess. Could be that. Beautiful. And not speak all that well. Impossible. No, we shall always be as we are, said the youngest prince. Snow Rose said nothing in reply, only nodded her head, unsmiling, dry-eyed. Tomorrow she would begin work. 12 shirts for 12 ducks, and not a word or a tear or a laugh till the last shirt was made. Each morning she left the cottage at the same time as her brothers flew off into the cornfields to feed, but Snow Rose waded instead waist deep into the nettle patch and gathered up swathes of nettles in her arms. Like a million hot pinpricks, they stung the tender white crease of her arms, her hands, her throat, her face, but she shed not a tear, carding, spinning, waving the nettles into cloth. Her poor hands troubled, lived, and red, but she never once cried out in pain. Watching her, the princess soon saw just how much she loved them, and loved her in return. They begged her, but she spoke not one word in reply. For then it would all be for nothing. Weeks turned to months, months to a year. The nettles were all gone from round the cottage, gone through the wood, and Snow Rose had to fetch nettles home, miles in bales on her back, and she worked all day and half the night. Soon all that remained was to sew the woven pieces together. By noon there were only 4 more shirts to sew. But by nightfall the princess would have their shirts, and her ordeal and theirs would be over. Suddenly hoofbeats clamoured through the forest, riders with plumed hats and quivers of yellow arrows. Arrows? Snow Rose thought of her brothers winging home over the tree tops. She imagined the hunter's arrows piercing them one by one. Sweeping together, her swinging the bundle over her shoulders, she pelted after the hunters. She could not call out to them, could not shout a warning to her brothers. In the distance, she could hear the whirl of wings, the cracking cry of her brothers singing out to her for their supper. As the lead huntsman raised his bow, a ragged girl rushed out of the trees and grabbed his bridle, almost unseating him. His arrow flew wide. The ducks flew by overhead unheard. The king, whose aim she had spoiled, was only angry for a moment. He had rarely seen such a pretty girl as the one now standing in front of his horse. He smiled and asked who she was. Oh, here is she sewing things. I don't know if I showed you. Working hard. Yeah. Snow Rose did not answer. Don't be shy. Why did you stop me shooting? He asked. But Snow Rose did not answer, could not answer. Come back to the castle with me, won't you, and tell me all about yourself. And Snow Rose had to go, could not tell him how vital it was to get home, to take the shirts home. This dumb, raged, unsmiling beauty intrigued the king, and he soon found himself falling in love with her. It was annoying that she never laughed at his jokes, but something noble and sorrowful spoke to him out of her eyes, so that he was content to sit in silence with her for hours. But the king's love for Snow Rose made the ladies of the royal court seethe with jealousy. Look at her, all spotty red, they sneered. She probably has some disgusting disease. She never cries when I pinch her at table, never cries out when I kick her under the table. She's probably a witch. Witches never cry. Snow Rose could not defend herself. When they began to make up lies about her, blame her for everything bad, accuse her of witchcraft and sorcery, Snow Rose could say nothing in her defense. At last, blood was found on the snow beneath her window, and she was accused of murder. At that, the king's love turned to her, and he condemned Snow Rose to death. Lovely. She doesn't even cry, jeered the ladies of the court. We told you she was a witch. As Snow Rose was led away to a prison cell to await her death at dawn, she made sign that she wanted her bundle of sewing. The prison warder brought it, ouching and ouching, flung it in after her and went away, searching his stinging fingers. All night Snow Rose sewed, while outside a bonfire was built of branches and benches. At the heart of the bonfire was a stake of wood, and round the stake a golden chain. Anyone else would have wept for sheer fear, but Snow Rose only sewed and stitched and sewed. Panic swept over her when at the last moment she found one sleeve missing. It must have dropped from the bundle as she ran through the woods. Perhaps the magic would fail for want of that one sleeve. But there was no time to replace it. Morning spilled in at the barred window. The warder's key rattled in the lock. Time to die, miss, he said. As Snow Rose walked to the bonfire, she dropped behind her. One by one, 12 corsets and rather odd-smelling green shirts. No sooner did they touch the ground than wild ducks settled out of the sky, picked them up in their beaks, and flew off with them. One last time, I beg you, girl, said the king. Speak and defend yourself against this terrible charge. But Snow Rose would not speak, could not speak, so they tied her to stake and lit the fire around her. Suddenly, hoofbeats clambered over the castle drawbridge and into the yard rode 12 princes, leaning forward in their saddles, shouting themselves hoarse. They came on at the charge, forcing courtiers and ladies to jump aside. "Let our sister go, or die on our swords," they yelled. "She is innocent of any crime but love." The fire was doused, the golden chain snapped, and Snow Rose leaped down from the bonfire to hug all her 12 brothers. "You're saved, you're saved," she cried, and her tears of joy intermingled with sobs of laughter. Oh, she cried from happiness. Now everything could be explained to the king, and the ladies of the court were put to shame for their lying. The blood on the shore, they admitted, had been nothing more than the blood of a pet duck. With a shudder, the youngest prince held his cloak tight around him and said to Snow Rose, "Let's leave this place and go home." "Yes, but I may return here. I have grown rather fond of the king," said Snow Rose, "and I may well marry him. But tell me, did you find the lost sleeve, or was my work enough to recover you all completely?" "Not completely," said the youngest brother, and his cloak fell open. In place of his left arm was a duck's wing. "Still, I never heard that he was loved any the less for his strange appearance. Nor when they returned home to their mother did she prize her boys any less than her girl. No, not by the breadth of a rose step, not by the weight of one snowflake." That's it, my dears. Thank you so much for coming, and see you next time.